Hey folks, okay, we're back, and this has turned out to be the last turn. I think I actually recorded the last turn and showed you all the moves that I've made, but we decided to call it because if you actually look at the map here, I've got 5 provinces left, including my capital, and Imp here has got loads and loads of provinces. So this is game over for me. I'm just going to introduce Imp.
Hey, how's it going?
So yeah, this was a pretty short. It was a pretty short game, and I mean, I kind of put all my egg.
We finished up on what? Yeah, turn 21 here.
Yeah, so that's pretty short. I mean, I've this is the first Blitz I've ever played. I'll be honest with you, so I have no idea how long they usually go for. One versus one blitzes. I assume that they're going to be, overly, they can be over relatively short. So
yeah. From what I've seen on Merrill's channel, because he runs that tournament,
yeah,
I haven't watched very many of them, but I have seen the occasional video pop up, and they're usually hour and a half to 2 hours,
yeah,
which is about the same as us.
yeah. That sounds about right. Yeah. So this, I mean, because I was I kicked myself really because I kind of put all my eggs into that one mono drop basket, and I've never done that before, by the way, and I made a mistake. So I forgot to put some astral pearls on it so that it could return.
Pearls.
Yeah, right. So I actually sent over an assassin with a few, but you killed it just a couple of turns before it arrived. So yeah, I
don't think I killed the assassin. You actually killed one of my monks with her.
Oh no, sorry. The you killed the apology. What I mean is you killed the monolith before she actually got over. Yeah, over to Forest of Avalon where your capital is. So man, sorry. So yeah, it was an interesting game.
And I mean, I guess we may as well start out just talking a little bit about god design, because I kind of approached this with a single-minded mentality of, okay, I need to. Um, uh, my goal was, I figured with any kind of blitz, land wins games, right? Like with any game of Dominions, land wins games.
Sure.
And so I figured this was the best way I could think of to get as much land as possible, as quickly as possible, was to just take the big pig
Yeah.
and have him go out and start trampling. Um, I talked about it a little bit in the videos on my perspective as well, but basically what I was going for is something to almost use like a queen on a chessboard, where within my domain, it's a really powerful unit that I can move around defensively and hopefully keep you from being able to get too aggressive with me,
Yeah.
um, and help tamp down on some of the raiding and stuff like that. And I think it worked fairly well in that respect.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was trying to. I actually built a force to kill it, and this is the army that I've been running around with at the end. Basically, it's kind of a whole bunch of Daibakimono and
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Chaffy goblins.
I've got your turn up on my screen here.
Yeah,
the one with 25 Daibakimono.
that's the one. Yes.
And yeah, the one that fought in the battle on the last turn, right?
Yeah. Right. So that was a cool battle as well. But
Green Harbor.
Yeah. So,
and honestly, you came out quite decisively on top of that one. Like, that was an expensive loss for my part.
Yeah,
lost a Mother of Avalon, lost basically my entire. I mean, that's 3 turns recruitment worth of knights there.
yeah.
Whole bunch of Logrians. Like, that was an expensive battle for me. I think. I think I would still probably win this game overall.
Oh, absolutely.
But
I didn't stand a chance. But I mean, like, I did okay in that battle. I lost like 82 Bakemono, which is 2 turns of recruitment. Maybe maybe
exactly.
one. But
I mean, that's cap only recruitment for me as well too, that you were killing there.
Yeah, if I'd have had a victory like that early in the game, I'll tell you what it is, right? I've never played Shinuyama before, and so it was I was just like picking up. I didn't even do any expansion testing because I was reading online, and it seemed that the Shinuyama are they can expand very very easily with the Bakemono show. They're really really good for what they are. They're like humans, but they're just strength. They're size 1, which is just like the Veti from Jotunheim and Vettiheim. And they're really, really good as well. But the great thing about Shinuyama, we've got access to size 2, 3, and 1. And so you've got really good combat density, and you can mix it. I mean, the old Bakemono, which are the ogre type, they're really they actually perform really well because you can get the Bakemono show in amongst them, and yeah, they're just really really good. They
And
do.
well, 30 damage Great Club, they hit like a truck.
Yeah, absolutely. So they've got some really good units, and they're very very. I'll tell you what it is, right? My problem is that I get this in normal Dominions games as well, where I get this idea of how I'm going to play it, and then I kind of fail to adapt once the game changes. And this is something I'm learning now because it's happening in our other multiplayer game that we're playing as well, where I kind of came out strong, and then sort of like tailed off as I kind of my interest sort of starts to wane, and I don't put the right effort in to kind of figuring it out. So here it was a little bit different. I found the game really interesting right the way through. The problem was that I lost too many of my like expanding parties kind of early on, and then you just took more territory. And I realized once you put that second castle up, and I didn't have any, I was like, okay, this is the problem now. I need to take that.
You can't see it on yours, but I've actually got a third castle up now. If you're looking on my screen, just north and east of Man at that river crossing there.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, that just
yeah, I
went
see
up
that.
this turn.
Oh, okay, right, okay, yeah. So
So, I
yeah,
mean,
I
my
was losing.
economy, yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think that you're right. Yeah, the loss of the god and just not being able to grab and hold enough clay fast enough.
Mm.
I know what I think was the absolute highlight, at least for me, was the whole little Vietnam War we had going on in that forest, sort of north of your cap and south and east of mine.
Oh yeah, okay.
That big batch of forest there where you sent the
Yep.
big raiding party up through, and I had all the foresters running around.
It was great, and
Um,
like I kept because both of us are stealthy. I think
yeah,
the foresters are stealthy, aren't they? So we were
yep,
both
they
kind
are.
of like hiding away and then popping out, and um,
Sneaking away, killing some PD, and running off again.
yeah, right. Yeah, it was really good fun. I think what crippled me in the end was my economy was weaker than yours. I think, and you obviously did much better with the expansion to the point where your economy was pretty cool. In my very first turn, I went to take Green Harbor on my first go because one of the guides I read was like you like Shinuyama can pretty much expand straight into anything. There's very little that can defeat them. Like they'll get through barbs okay, they'll get through heavy cav no problem. But I actually lost. My first battle I actually lost. So I lost a fair amount of troops, and they were sent running back to Shinuyama itself. And I went and took it again on the second turn. So and I got a really good income out of that. That's a really good province, Green Harbor.
Yeah,
But
his income was 77 there. Yeah,
I
mountain
made a mistake
and
there. I think I should have
farmland.
gone. Yeah, yeah, right. I was hoping to kind of get a nice. It was good though
Well,
because
because you've got those unique bakemono you can recruit out of mountains too, right?
yeah, yeah, right. So that's what I was using it for that too, and that was part of the idea. But yeah, I don't know. Like I should have probably gone the other way. I think I didn't expand too badly. I just didn't. I wasn't able to hold what I kept, what I took.
Yeah. Well, and in my case, I had two really easy expansion provinces right in my cap circle, like literally just like, oh, here's a pile of light infantry for the boar to stomp all over.
Sure.
Uh, and then that forest province had a bunch of barbs in it. And then the one just up to the, what is it, Remsa number 24,
Yeah.
had a whole bunch of heavy cav in it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the,
Right. More difficult.
the, yeah, but it's interesting because my god basically went from Man to number 14 Latin, 9 Bahamut, then down to Threna. And the turn that I took Threna, I was recruiting a scout in Bahamut to go get that fort started.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you were doing pretty. You were getting quite fast. That was the thing I didn't think. I was like, right, I'm not going to worry about forts. I'm just going to go straight for him. So my strategy was to find you as quickly as possible, then monodrop you as soon as possible. And I got Thaumaturgy 3 up after about turn 5 or 6. So
okay, yeah. Well,
and
I think that's the advantage of taking a god like yours, where you're able to get the research going
yeah,
really, really fast. Like even now, I'm not sure what my research is at, but it's pretty mediocre, I think. And that's with a bunch of. Actually, it's probably getting up there now because I've kind of hit critical mass with the monks and the owl quills. But the it was definitely a slow start research wise for me.
yeah.
The
Yeah, I think when I'm thinking about the mono drop, I didn't have enough spells really to make good use of it. Like it wasn't really like if I'd have, I can't even remember what I took on my god now. Just bear with me a minute.
I can tell you.
What
Oh
did
no, I
I?
can't tell you because your god's dead.
Yeah, it's dead. I can't remember whether I took death on it now. If I did, that would have been a good idea because I could have gone to Thaumaturgy 4, and then I could have
Mhm.
cast Terror, and that would
Yeah.
have done the job pretty well. As it was,
Though
I
I mean,
think you.
the knights are pretty high morale, and basically, because I was um, yeah, the knights are morale 14. So, I mean, they're pretty tough to make them run away.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
They'll
but
do it
basically,
eventually
what
though.
yeah, no, they would. But I think basically what my plan would have been, even if you had cast returning, would be to just have like a small squad of like 6 knights just continually patrolling. And
Yeah,
then
sure.
he'd drop in, they'd do damage to him on the lance charge, and the returning would kick in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, um, that because I was thinking that you probably would have had returning up.
Yeah, that was my mistake.
So
Yeah, I made a new bearer there. I'm afraid. I was so kind of playing it quite quick and sort of excited about what I was doing. Like, oh, this is going to be great. And then I realised that I'd not put any astral pills on him. So yeah, it's
oh, it's a blitz and mistakes happen. I think it's
I just make mistakes
um,
anyway because my got some kind of ADHD thing going on. So I'm like thinking about one thing and then I get so excited. Like people are often commenting on my videos, like, "Yeah, you said you were going to do this and then you didn't," and I'm like, "Oh
then you
yeah, it's
forgot.
just
Oh,
yeah." I
I
just
did the exact same thing.
I get excited. I get excited by something else, or I think about something else, and my brain's talking about one thing and my body's doing something else half the time anyway. So, but yeah, it was a really fun game. I really enjoyed I like the head-to-head format. I think we're gonna have to do it again.
Yeah, totally. Just looking at your cap here, that's an interesting assassin you're building with the skull talisman, the handful of acorns, and the bane blade.
Yeah, I thought that. Why did I put a Baneblade again? I think it's basically the best thing I could get. Like a
Yeah, probably.
Baneblade would be good. It's generally a good, it's good for, sort of anti-thug kind of device. It just depends. Against a pretender though, you probably age is so like high. I don't know if decay's going
Yeah,
to kill it that
I
quick.
think the boar's already like 2,000 years old or something. Like you could check it out. He's down in 26 right now.
Let me find that.
Right by the river where we were doing all the big armies were crashing
Oh
into
yeah,
each
yeah, yeah,
other.
yeah. Okay, hang on a minute. There he is. Yeah, so his age. Oh yeah, his max age is like 5,000. Decay's not going to work, and I think that
No.
he's also got recuperation. I don't know if that helps. I know that's
Recuperation,
no, that's
and he was casting regeneration in every fight as well.
yeah. I think the Baneblade isn't going to work on that. I think I just made that as a general thug. Not sorry, not thug, as a general assassin.
Yeah,
Uh,
and would have been very effective against like the mothers and stuff like that. Would have done quite a number on them, I think. And they're expensive mages. Like
hmm
if you're able to get in there and start assassinating some of those mothers, they don't come cheap. So, but you'll notice too, I actually built sacreds after that first assassination attempt.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
started building wardens and sticking them on as bodyguards because
yeah,
they've got
yeah.
the bodyguard tag.
So they're more likely to turn
So
up.
yeah,
Yeah, man's
and I
an
figure
interesting faction. I think I said at the start of this little series really was I don't really play middle age very much. I do like it. I don't play it. The reason isn't because I don't like it. It's purely because I'm just trying to work my way through all the early age stuff, and
yeah, fair
I've
enough.
pretty much played all of the early age factions now, nearly. So I've actually started branching out into the middle age, and I started playing Jotunheim because I really like the Neefel
Mhm.
Jotunheim sort of arc of nations. But Shinuyama and
Well,
Man both seem really interesting.
yeah, they are, and I think they were a good matchup for each other as well. Um, and yeah, it was pretty cool to see that mono drop really threw me for a loop. I was quite impressed by that. And the other nice thing too is it did kind of kick me into high gear.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I tend to play. I one of the interesting things about this is I tend to try and avoid early wars. I
hmm
don't like early wars as a general rule. Um, and because they're so high stakes,
Yeah.
right? And
I'm the other way
I
around.
probably would have, yeah,
I like.
if you hadn't done that, I probably would have cheerfully sat around and just kept building up units for another like 3 or 4 turns, which would have
Mm,
made for a significantly less exciting game.
yeah,
Um,
maybe.
so thank you for kicking me in the butt there.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
I've learned, right. Okay, so this is something that I've learned playing multiplayer Dominions, is that I think people rely a little bit on too much on non-aggression packs, and you have to. A certain level of play, you have to.
mhm.
But I've lost several games now through not being aggressive enough. So I switched full pelt. I was like, right, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. Now I'm just going to play really aggressively, and I nearly won a game. I did really well playing. Oh, what was that game that you jumped into when I was playing Satis and you were playing and
Oh
you
yeah, yeah, and I ended up taking over for
Makone, yeah,
Makone.
right. So yeah, you took over from Makone, and yeah, I was doing really well in that game. But it was one of those games where again, I'd had an NAP with the guy who won, and he just sort of abused it basically.
Very quietly sat there and built stuff up until I rolled in, and I'm like, you guys know he's like 2 thrones away from winning this. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a funny game because in that game I had such bad I had such bad expansion. I just had so much bad luck that I was basically right. I'm just gonna quit. I cannot win this now because it was like turn 10 and I had like 3 provinces. And I was like, this is
yeah,
just. But I was playing scale Satis, so I actually came back really strong. And then I was just like, right. I just said to people, look, just kill me. And I know people say that they're like, come on, just kill me. And then it's kind of like a cheesy
a bit of a
strategy that.
trap.
A bit of a trap, yeah. But I was being serious. I just wanted to be out of the game, and I didn't want to just go AI because that sucks. But
Oh,
turns I actually one of the guys who attacked me was pretty inept. I can't remember who he was playing now. He was Ermor, and I was like,
okay.
Ermor's going to wreck me, like in in an early war. Come on, so I attacked Ermor because I was like, hell, he's gonna wreck me, right? Ermor really strong in early wars because of the gladiators and that.
Yeah,
But I've
totally.
got lizard warriors. But yeah, anyway, I fought him I beat him, and then had another player who was playing the Mikone, and I did well against him as well. It was just one of those games where. But anyway, sorry, I'm getting a bit sidetracked. But I learned in that game, no, you want to be aggressive, if you can, and
Yeah.
if you're playing a nation like Satis, or like someone like this, like Shinuyama, or anyone that's got like a really strong early game, EA Ulm or something like this, right? Where you've got like an advantage with your national troops that are just really good against other people's. I think it can be good to get into early wars in that respect, but I'm not really talking from experience. I've got to be honest with you. Like I've had a little bit of experience with that working out well, but I've had better results being aggressive than I have had being too passive. Because I've lost 2 games now or 3 games now through just not really doing much and allowing other people to dictate the flow of the game. So I've kind of like switched pace now in Dominions, and I'm like, right, no, I'm dictating the pace of this game.
I am the one who knocks.
Yeah, yeah, right. And but there's no doubt that as I continually lose games with that tactic, because I don't think I'm going to lose this game that we're playing as well, the other one with Ulm and Abyssia. But I think that once you switch tactics to one thing and you've explored that to the extreme, you kind of switch back towards the middle again. You're like, okay, I've done the like passive thing and turtling. I've done the hyper aggressive thing. Now I need to kind of find some balance between those two sort of extremes and
Yeah,
then
yeah. Well,
forge
and I
something
mean
that's.
now that you mention it, I think to like thinking back, some of the games that I've been most successful in were games that I was quite aggressive early on. I was in a very long lasting game as late age Phalegra shortly after that came out,
Yes,
like
right.
after that nation was released, and so it was interesting because everybody was still trying to figure out what the heck this nation was supposed to do other than have giant super combatants that show up on like turn 35.
Hmm.
um, and I ended up bordering late age Ulm, and all I could think is, "Good God, I don't want to have to deal with vampires."
Yeah, right.
So, I think it was like turn 13. I just rolled a whole bunch of like every Helot soldier I could get, just rolled them into Ulm. And he had been doing the crossbow wolf strategy thing,
Okay.
um, which is interesting because it was actually similar to uh, the Ulm that, oh gosh, who was it? Was it General Confusion? S- Did a late age Phalegra, and he ended up in a big war against as well.
I've not
But
watched that
I
one
was
actually. I like GC's
okay.
videos, but I haven't watched that one. I don't think
Yeah, it's well quite old now because it would have been when Fallegra first came out.
it would have been when
But
GC was still playing Dominions.
when GC was still playing Dominions, yeah,
Yeah.
that too. But uh, I managed to I managed to get the momentum going where I was able to just roll over his armies in the field, and I had him taken out by turn 22, turn 23. Like his god had just woken up right when I basically like 2 turns before I got his capital under siege.
Oh wow.
So he
Okay.
hadn't had a chance to start blood hunting or anything like that yet because he took a dormant.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, you got to have a plan in case somebody runs at you.
yeah, well, and especially if you're playing somebody like late age Ulm, where you have to expect that people are going to want to
Take you out.
deal with you before you become late age Ulm.
Didn't like Fallegra get really heavily nerfed? Not heavily nerfed, but they didn't. Illwinter made some change to the way that to the volcano explosion event that brings the tyrants back out. So
Oh,
it used to happen in the first year, and now they've changed it. So I think
um,
now it's like 2 years, which make they kind of come out a little late. Is that
I know
right?
that in my game, I know that in this game, uh, I don't know if it was just bad luck on the rolls or something like that, but I was well into the 30s before the mountain exploded. Like I
Yeah,
think
they've
there was
changed
always
it.
an element of randomness to it.
Yeah, it came out in the
Um,
first year though. First, or like somewhere between the first and second year, they've dropped it back by 12 months, I believe. So
yeah,
I think that like, sorry, that is late age for Lego, isn't it? That has that
yes,
mechanic.
yeah. It
That's
has
it.
the
So yeah, I think that thing is right. At the by the point, let's say they come out turn 36, right? Like year three, start of year three. Sorry, is that year three?
yeah, close
No,
enough. Yeah, year
yeah,
3,
kind of
yeah.
year three, year four, whatever.
24 would be year 2, 36
Yeah,
would
yeah,
be year 3,
yes.
yeah.
All right. So, and by that point, super combatants, people are going to start having counters for that, I think. So
Mm,
by that point in the game, you're starting to get stuff that can even if it's just forging axes of hate or something that can take down super combatants relatively reliably. So I think that was a bit of a kick in the teeth for late age for Lego, I reckon.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why middle age is so much more powerful. But anyhow, we're dragging ourselves off topic here.
Sure.
Um, the uh, the one thing that really impressed me about this was just how well those knights performed. Like
Yeah,
for
I couldn't
scale
kill
troops
them.
without a bless.
I could not kill
Sorry.
those things. I could not kill those things. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh
I was just like,
no.
I just when you said it, it triggered me. It's just like those damn things. I couldn't catch them.
Yeah, and I mean, I was able like I had enough resources in my cap that I was able to turn out usually 4, sometimes 5 per turn, and yeah, I was really shocked at how well they performed. You look at the stat line and you're like, okay, they're slightly better heavy cavalry with an extra attack. Whoop de doo,
No,
and then you actually
no,
field them, and they're
no. They
like,
do really
oh.
well. They're way better than heavy cav. They've got like 4 attacks.
Yeah, yeah, because 'cause they've got the alicorn as well.
Yeah.
So the but I mean, you think about it, that's the alicorn, like, if you actually pull up their stats and look at them, let me just 'cause I know that they showed up. Like, if you pull up their stats and look at them here,
Got it.
um, the the alicorn is not massively damaging. Like, it's not a super attack, and if you look at the rest of their stat line, they're not that much crazier than a generic heavy cav.
Yeah,
Um,
but they've got recuperation and they've got magic attacks. So that can't. I
the
mean,
magic attack makes a big difference, yeah,
and
but
just having the alicorn as well. Like you've got the lance charge, right? And then you've got they do heavy. They do a lot of damage with that piercing damage with the lance charge. But then they've got 3 attacks after that. Now the hoof's not that strong, um,
no.
but it is significant. And that because you're size 3, you've basically got a high attack density with those things, much higher than human troops. They're on a level with
Mhm.
the Bakemono, but it's strength 12,
Yeah,
defense
well,
17.
and I think one thing I was kinda surprised you didn't make, um, was instead of doing the Daibakemono, doing the Daibakemono with the longbows, 'cause, It's a difference of 4 resources, but I think stat-wise, they're exactly the same. They have the exact same armor, the difference being that you get the longbow for 4 resources.
Oh, do they also have the Nodachi? Okay.
They do have the Nodachi.
Okay, so
So
they've all the only difference I can see is defense
resource
skill
cost.
and the resource cost. The defense skill slightly less, but that's not a big
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
And they're not as
Yeah.
strong as well. They're strength 15 instead of 16, but and less hit points. Okay, so like very negligible differences in their stats basically, but they've got a longbow. I didn't
And in
notice that.
exchange, you get the ranged attack, yeah, and,
That's a good range attack
I
as well.
it is a good ranged attack. I think that's up there with the longbowman from Man.
Mm, yeah.
Um,
Well, this is a longbow
and
too, so
probably even better than the longbowmen from Man because they are higher strength.
yeah.
Because that longbow does 14 damage, whereas the man's longbow does, um oh, looking at the wrong battle. Uh, 12 damage for man's longbow.
Let's have a look. Where are we? Yeah, okay. Oh, look, right, I mean, this is an example of what I was talking about, yeah? Like, I kind of get stuck into doing one thing, and I need to be a little bit more dynamic with the way that I do force composition. I guess it partly comes from being new to the faction, but it's also a bit of a quirk of mine. So, I was still pumping out Bakemono show, and I think they're, even at this point of the game, they're pretty useful. Really, I should have been switching more into some of the other troops that they had. And I didn't even look at the Dai Bakemono, actually. Like, I didn't even look at those guys.
The other interesting thing with like the Bakemono show, I think one of the things that could be really useful with them, especially versus the cavalry, would be to almost do a line of them with the line, and I think this is what you did. Like, let's just see this fight here.
Is this a Green Harbor?
Green Harbor, yeah.
Yeah, just bringing it up now.
Like, I think what happened here is, and the only thing I probably would have changed with your scripting would be to put those ogres further back so they aren't the ones eating the lance charge.
Yeah, that was a bad move on my part. I didn't mean to do. I just put them. I just put them all together. Really, what I should have done is had them in 2 separate groups, and then had those staggered further back so that they came in. And I mean, I lost. I didn't.
See, as soon as those Dai Bakemono get in among my cavalry, like it does not go well for them. Like that entire flank just collapses under the weight of 2-handed katanas.
Yeah, those things are designed to kill armor. I mean, they're slash damage, so not necessarily, but still, they're they do a lot of damage when they do
damage.
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty high.
I mean, that's going to punch through a lot of armor.
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing how they perform against the. They don't really engage with my my Logrians very much.
I was helped there with some magic. Sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, the web spell.
Yeah, I was casting web. I thought that would help. I also did rust mist as well, but rust mist only seemed to affect me. It didn't seem to affect your troops at all. I don't know why.
No, it did.
Did it? Oh, okay.
I had quite a few knights with their armor falling off.
Yeah. It's a cool spell. I like using a lot of these little spells that you don't often see other players using. Usually the reason why you don't see other people using them is because they're often not that effective. But I just like using stuff like that. Like I just think it's
and also when you're forced into early wars like this for nations that you like normally you're thinking, okay, when should I go to war? What's a good point that I'm going to be hitting key research targets? And that's when you time going to war, so you don't use the spells like Rust Mist and stuff like that because that's not something that your brain goes to as here's a key spell that I need to make sure that I'm casting.
Yeah.
It's just making to be like, okay, well, I can get Legions of Steel up, and I can get Strength of Giants up, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I actually really enjoyed the process of playing the Blitz. I thought it was really cool. For a start, it kind of, you're remaining focused on the game. I think it's, and I think it's definitely a very high skill cap thing to do. You've got to know the game really well. I know the game mechanics in Dominions pretty well now. My problem is that I've got focus. My issue with Dominions is focus. So I remember now why I kind of stopped playing multiplayer Dominions. It's because my focus starts to drift in the mid game when I start getting out of my depth, and as I get more out of my depth, I feel I lose my connection with the game, which is why I put a lot of effort into the early game, and as a result, I'm quite good at the early game, I think. But when it comes, I expand well. I'm good at in early wars. I know how to do this sort of stuff. My issue is that I'm really like I just kind of lose interest.
Turn 50.
Yeah, even before that, it just depends. It depends how it goes. I think, and that's not a problem with Dominions. That's an issue with me. I think maybe other people also have some similar issues, but
no, I definitely do. That middle-aged Phlegra game that I'm in, it's a struggle getting turns done for it. Between, I've got probably close to 3,000 helots scattered around my empire.
Yeah.
And just trying to micromanage them to make sure they're not starving. And oh look, I just was in a battle and lost another 300 of them.
Sure. Yeah, it's so much to deal with.
Very, very tedious. And then you layer in the fact that Phlegra's dealing with the communions and stuff too, and they're communions that are difficult to put together and impossible to balance. So how many communion slaves did I lose this time? Oh, 6. Okay, well, drag out 6 more.
Yeah. There's a lot of micromanagement with communions. It's funny because I talk to Lucid a lot, and Lucid kind of said, well, no, let me approach this point in a different way. So I think that the key to remaining focused with Dominions is to really want to win. Okay, I think if you really want to win, then you have got an advantage over people who are playing like me, who kind of for me, losing is fun. Okay, that Dwarf Fortress thing is that's how I approach all games. So if I get beaten in a strategy game, I'm kind of happy because it means that I've learned something. But I think one of the reasons why Lucid kind of he stopped playing is because he's taking the games too seriously in a sense, and he's allowing. I know this, and I think he's talked about this publicly, so I'm sure he won't mind me saying this. But I believe I remember talking to him when we were playing a game together, and there was in that game, right? You weren't in this one, but there was a bit of salt going on between some of the players, and I was I was kind of laughing, I don't get it how you guys just care about the game to the point where you get.
Why is this so upsetting to you?
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? What's going on? Lucid was kind of oh no, you got to have a bit of salt. There's got to be some salt, otherwise you're probably not putting in your 100%. And that's not quite what he said, but I'm sort of extrapolating from what he was saying. I think that's kind of what he meant. I think that is one cure for falling off the game in the late game, is to really care about winning. The problem is that if you really care about winning, and Maryland will talk about this as well, if you get to the point of the game where you are thinking about it at night before you go to bed, or when you're in bed, and then you wake up and it's the first thing you think about in the morning, and you're getting pissed off because someone backstabbed you or whatever, and it's starting to affect your day-to-day life, I think that's when it starts getting too much. And I've got enough problems in my real life without stressing out about video games as well. So
no
I've resigned myself to the fact that I'm never going to be a killer Dominions player. I'm intelligent enough to be able to play it, but I don't think that I'm willing to commit that level of emotional engagement that you really need in order to be a really top level Dominions player.
Generally speaking, my goal is to just not embarrass myself, and like you said, have some fun losing. I'm always shocked when I make it into the mid game.
Yeah, me too.
So
it's not easy though in Dominion, especially in multiplayer, competitive multiplayer games. I mean, even with you playing with friends, people take it seriously. But I mean, if you're playing, just kind of in a game where you don't really know anyone, in a sense, that's kind of preferable because you don't really care so much about being, about sort of more dirty
you're not
play.
Piss off a friend.
Exactly. Whereas, in the game that we're currently playing, for example, when Hyde got dogpiled at the start, I didn't really intend that to happen. I just attacked him early because I was I need to attack him. Who's he playing again?
That was very similar to the logic that I had in going in to attack him because he's Fomoria.
Exactly right. So I'm he's Fomoria. I'm Ulm. I cannot defeat Fomoria if he gets past about turn 30. That's game over for me.
Yep.
But then he kind of he kind of was like, oh, well, that's my game over then, because everyone's just attacked me at the start. And I kind of felt bad. Whereas if I'm playing, with people who I don't know, I don't care about, obviously, I don't want somebody to be having a bad time. But at the same time, you're playing a game, right? And Hyde's cool. He understands that, man. He gave me some shit over it, but it was friendly because we play all sorts of games together. We play war games together, and we're playing Shadow Empire and all that kind of thing. So we know each other well enough that I know that he wasn't. But like, even then, I still felt bad. Like I'm a bit too nice to play Dominions, I think.
Well, and I think a lot of it too is Dominions is such a commitment.
Yeah,
like it is a time commitment, and a significant one.
Yeah.
You can be playing a game for 6 months or 8 months or potentially longer. You can get into 70, 80, 90 turns into a game, and when you see things start to fall apart, it can be really easy to get frustrated, I think.
Yes.
Which again is kind of one of the things that I think is cool about the Blitz, is it's a fairly low investment. Like, I mean, we set this up over what, a couple of, like, from idea to actually doing it was a couple of days and a couple of hours of free time where our schedules meshed up. So
I could have done it faster if I'd have actually. Part of my problem. So I don't want to say this on my channel, right? I've been researching some new games to play, and I actually got back into playing Jagged Alliance 2, which is like a favorite game of mine.
Oh yeah.
And
that is a fantastic game.
Oh yeah, it's like one of the best ever made in my humble opinion. I think Jagged Alliance 2 with the V1.13 mod is one of the finest video games ever made. But I got so into that I kind of like dropped off the map for a couple of days. I didn't really speak to anyone. Like my girlfriend didn't even really see me. So like I've had to kind of like drag myself away from that one. But if I hadn't been in that head state, I'd have, we could have set this Blitz up probably within, you could have said, hey, do you want to play a Blitz? I'd be like, yeah, no worries. I could have done all the server stuff and, in an hour. It would have taken an hour, not even that, like half an hour. It doesn't take long to set up a Dominions bot game.
It takes longer to bust open the board game cabinet and set up a game of Risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. Like, thank you so much for the game. It was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. We definitely have to do that again.
No, 100%.
Part of me wants to have a rematch with these factions. I don't know if you'd be interested in that, or maybe we should pick something else. But
I would certainly be interested in that. There's some things that I would definitely want to try with Man differently. I think that might be neat. Or even swap factions. You play Man, I'll play Shinuyama.
That sounds cool. I was just thinking about that actually. Yeah, that's also another option. We'll have a think, and perhaps we'll do it and we'll record it again, because I think recording it, this is one of the things that I love about YouTube, by the way, and it's something I learned playing Shadow Empire, I'd say, is that if I record a series, I focus on it to the end, mostly. There have been a few series I've abandoned for various reasons, usually because I can't win, sometimes because I just lose interest. And Daz Tactic taught me, don't ever play a game that you don't want to play. Like, if you get bored of it, just drop it.
Just drop it.
Yeah, because people will burn out really badly when they're forced to play something they don't want to play. And I've taken that advice to heart, and man, he knows his stuff, right? So but for the most part, like if I play a YouTube video, if I play a game and I record it for YouTube, I tend to finish it, and I really think more carefully about the game too. You have to balance that out though with the fact that while you're playing and talking at the same time, obviously that's kind of, how it is.
Well, I mean, a big chunk of episode 2, I actually ended up doing voiceover in post. Because the whole time I'm trying to figure out how to deal with that monolith, I'm just staring silently at the screen, shuffling troops around.
Yeah. I'm good at just waffling when I'm doing stuff. Yeah. You can tell though, because I'll actually start making incoherent sentences because my mouth's just sort of moving, and like my brain stops working after a bit, and you can just you can tell when Ben's thinking. Yeah, just if I come out with 15 adjectives in a row, that there's something wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Imp, thanks so much, man. Yes. We should wrap this up, but let's do this again, and perhaps we switch factions next time, and we'll see.
That would be very cool. How it goes. Yeah, totally.
Let's do it.
So until next time.
Take care, man. See ya.